everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside my good friend and co-host Nick Barr. The Nick and Nick episode is back, and we are talking about the final game before the All-Star break, the second place Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference rankings. What more can you ask for, and who more can you ask for than DeMar DeRozan, the MVP? Nick, welcome to the show. He is on an absolute tear, as we know. He is our guy. We talk about it every single day, but I think he's a lock for MVP. I know you think he's a lock for MVP. Before we begin, though, did you think that DeMar was a bad signing? Obviously, it's working out pretty well, but did you think he was a bad signing before the season started?
Honestly, yeah, that seems to be one of the big things that's talked about in the media, right? And I think all those people that said it was a bad signing deserve all the trolling they're getting. Because even back then, and listen, I'm no expert. It seemed like we're paying this guy less than $30 million a year to put up these kind of numbers. And of course, we didn't know it was going to be this kind of production. This is like as best as it could be. But I mean, Nick, it's a no-brainer. He's been worth every single penny.
Every penny. And honestly, he didn't work in the Spurs system. Like, that's just
right.
He was put in a bad situation there. You know, he obviously was upset that Toronto got rid of him. He wanted to feel wanted. And like, I'm not saying the Spurs didn't want him, but Chicago was like, come here. Like, we want you. Like, this is what we want. And also, ESPN stinks at evaluating players right now. If you're not Steph Curry, LeBron James, or anyone, Kevin Durant or James Harden, you are automatically nothing to them. So ESPN stinks. DeMar DeRozan is the MVP, and we're going to hit on why. So, Nick, why don't you run through for the viewers a little bit of DeMar's crazy impact that some people might not realize that he's had on the Bulls so far this season?
Yeah. So I think if you've been keeping up with the Bulls, I think especially the past 4 games, this win streak here has been just insane. The February month as a whole for DeMar has been just an absolute monster performance every single night. It seems like he goes out on the floor. So I just want to run through a couple of these stats, just because I find them so awe-inspiring, especially for a guy. I mean, and again, we forget he's in his 13th year in the league. So again, all those people that said it would be a bad signing, just look what's happening. So last 7 games, right? Kind of how I said February has been an absolute tear for him. He has at least 31 points per game. 2 games being over 40, this week being one of them. Absolutely ridiculous. So 27.9 points per game. I think his field goal percentage is something also that is just, it's alarming.
It's insane
how efficient he is. 5.2 rebounds, 5.1 assists. So he's filling up the stat sheet on the other end too. Not only is he on a tear, but he's the first player since Michael Jordan, of course, our Mecca, to score 35 in 6 straight games. I mean, ridiculous. We haven't seen this literally since MJ. You don't say that often.
No. Well, Levine and DeMar are like the ones that are keeping up with MJ. And, you know, Derrick Rose went during his MVP season, wasn't even matching MJ's stats.
Right.
Shout out Derrick Rose. Love him. Like, he's the reason why a lot of our generation fell in love with the Bulls. But Nick, go through his February games. And like you said, the field goal percentage is insane over these last 6 games.
It's ridiculous. So on February 6th, he had 45 points, 60% from the field. So he's shooting 60% and was able to produce 45 points of volume. Then the next day, 38 points, 59%. Then 2 days later, February 9th, 36, 68% from the field.
He's an automatic bucket. Like that, it's automatic at that point.
And then he had the back-to-backs on February 11th with 35 points, 64% from the field. I mean, insane. And then can't turn around, play the next night. I mean, again, you got to factor in these back-to-backs too. It's insane. So the next night on the 12th, 38 points, 50% from the field. And then, of course, our most recent game here 2 nights ago, the Valentine's Day 40 that he dropped with 67% from the field. It's amazing. It doesn't get any better than that. He's quite literally a walking bucket.
I love it. I mean, like he like is the new, when people look at like straight shooters that we've had over the last, whatever seasons, we've had Ben Gordon, you could throw Kyle Korver in there, obviously, Derrick Rose, Kirk Heinrich. I think DeMar is the best natural shooter that we've had. And that's with LaVine too. And nothing against Zach LaVine. Like, he is definitely the one guy right behind him, at least in the last decade. I mean, yeah, you've had Jimmy Butler and Pau Gasol, but this just rampage of February games is insane. And he obviously knew, and this is where his MVP status comes from. MVP is not just a stat standpoint. It's also your impact on the team. And Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso being out, and then, you had a couple bench guys out as well. Kobe was out for a minute. Io was out for a minute. Derek Jones Jr., DeMar was like, okay, I'm going to step up. And like you said, he's no spring chicken. He's on the wrong side of 30. But, with today's, health and benefits, he's staying on top of his game. He is helping the rest of the team be better. And that's even more valuable than just his stats. So kind of going through just a few of our stars, and then I'll go through the overall team. Zach LaVine is even more efficient than he was when he didn't have DeMar last year. He takes off a lot of double team and inside heat that LaVine gets when he drives to the bucket, because you got to consider DeMar from the mid-range or now even the 3-point line. And DeMar has not been a 3-point shooter his entire career, but 33% this year. I mean, 1 of 3 every 3 threes, like, not bad. So he allows a LaVine to be guarded by smaller defenders and less athletic defenders. And that's why Zach is able to be the player that he is right now, too. Then you go to Vooch, who has been on an absolute tear over the last 10 games. He's had 8 double-doubles, 3 of them being 30-point double-doubles. So, and one of them was, I think, 36 and 18. He almost had a 36 and 20 night. So it was absolutely insane. And Vooch has really blossomed. He struggled at the beginning of the season with a lot of bricks, a lot of confidence, but his confidence is back. There's no doubt about it. And I think that if Vooch would have played like this all season, I think the Bulls could easily have 2-3 all-star starters. Shout out, Trae Young should not be an all-star starter. It should be Zach LaVine. But this is what DeMar has done. He's giving guys confidence because he's letting Billy Donovan be like, okay, DeMar's going to be my guy. I can focus on helping other guys like Io, like guys like Kobe White, gain their confidence and learn how to be a better NBA player. Helped Vooch out, helped LaVine out, helped Caruso out tremendously, even though Caruso's been on a tear when he first was playing. Can't wait for him to come back in a couple weeks, but definitely just the leadership that he's had as well for Io and Kobe White. I mean, Kobe White looks like a completely different player than when he was in Jim Boylan's system and last year, because Billy Donovan was strictly focusing on Zach and Vooch. And then Billy Donovan's like, okay, now that these guys are established, I have DeMar, I have a big 3. Now I can focus on the younger guys and help them develop. Right. And also when Patrick Williams was in. So an MVP is not just from their own stats. It's a league and team impact. And that's what DeMar has been doing. So before we get into our leadership, we started to hit on it. Nick's going to go through his leadership opportunities. We're going to go through and like to thank our sponsor, The Bench Mob. The Bench Mob was started in 2010 and has reemerged back in 2021 to represent the best bench players in the NBA. All of them could be 6 men of the year. That's how good the Bench Mob is. For Bench Mob merch, as Nick is wearing, and we are getting new Bench Mob merch over the next couple of days, head over to the link in our description and use code JAY20 to get 20% off your first order. Nick, go through a little bit more. I mean, his leadership is unmatched in regards to this team. That is also why he's an MVP in our eyes, but kind of hit on a couple examples that some people may have forgotten about or don't even know about.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, it just seems like the chemistry of this team, as cliche as it is, seems to be as good as it can possibly be. I even saw on Twitter, they were doing a little birthday celebration on the court for Kobe White today, turned 22, which he's been playing a lot older than his age too. So shout out to Kobe White on his birthday. But, it just seems like this is such an enjoyable team to play for. I know Billy plays into that role, but I really do think DeMar has a huge, huge impact on that.
Agreed.
He just seems like he cares about everyone. I mean, everyone you see during the Bulls games, when you're watching, or if you're on Twitter, you're seeing the DeMar hugs everywhere, right? So if a player's getting mad, or if a player's frustrated, or even if they're just out of celebration, DeMar's going over there and giving you a hug. I mean, it's just these little things, man, that make it seem like, everyone is playing for each other, not playing for themselves. And that's rare to find in the NBA, I suppose. And then there's some other little things, like earlier in the month, DeMar drove down to, or maybe this was January, drove down to Champaign, No one likes going all the way down to Champaign on like a random weeknight just to support Io's, jersey retirement at U of I. It's just little things like this. And then, those conversations you see DeMar having with Io during the game, like literally taking him under his wing and like spitting some game to him. And I mean, it's phenomenal, especially that DeMar's doing that, not just like from the sideline, but he's doing it while dropping a 40 piece. He's finding ways to be a leader and like a mentor for these younger guys. Cause we do have, a relatively younger team like DeMar, Vooch, and Levine. Yeah, that's our big three, and they're not new to the league or anything. But after that, the age goes down quite a bit, and we need experience when it comes to playoffs. And we're clearly a playoff team. So this is exactly the kind of guy we need, from a morale standpoint. So I just, there's so many things I appreciate about DeMar. And it seems like the team does too. So that's the most important thing. I think he's got a very clear argument to being the MVP, especially right now, especially after that February he just had. And I think there's some other, I think I'd be remiss not to mention some of the other candidates. So, Nikola Jokic having a great year. But the Nuggets are in third place. So I don't know how impactful they're going to be down the road. And that, your team's performance affects that too. Bucks are finally getting hot. Giannis dropped a 50 piece last night. We know he's really good. But again, there's nothing surprising there. I understand Embiid's playing, out of his mind. He's averaging 29.3 points right now. But again, a lot of these teams got a little different over the trade deadline. We stayed the same. And I think we completely control our own destiny here. So while I do understand that there's some other viable candidates, I mean, the fact that we're sitting at second place right now, if we can keep that up, DeMar needs to be the main guy considered for MVP.
And I like what you said too, that his leadership doesn't affect the rest of the team in regards to like everyone's playing for the team, not for themselves. And that was a concern that a lot of people had in regards to Levine, Vooch, and DeMar. No one knew how they were going to work because this was Levine's team the last 2 years. And DeMar comes in and Levine like flat out said, I fully respect this guy. And that's what made DeMar so great when he was in Toronto. And that's what made him not good in San Antonio. In my opinion, and I'm sure you might agree, but when DeMar was the guy, he plays better and the team plays better. When he is not the guy, he's frustrated but he's not a disrespectful, like I am always the guy. I always need to be the guy. It's his leadership actually shows and helps benefit and grow the team. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to DeMar. And that's what's so special about him.
Agreed.
And that's what Zach also likes about him a lot too, because Zach's a young guy still in the league. Even though Zach's been in the league for a long time, he understands that this is a contract year for Levine. And he wants him to play better too. And also, he's taking a lot of heat off Levine, kind of showing, and this is my bold prediction, but I think after the All-Star break, they're going to shut down Levine for at least 3 to 4 weeks because of that news that came out yesterday about the clicking in his knee.
Yeah.
I think, but like they don't have anything to worry about because Lonzo is coming back and like Crusoe's coming back. Vooch is playing well. And DeMar's playing well. So I think that like DeMar knows what he needs to do in order to win. And what more does he want than to win a ring? And I bring it to Chicago. And I think that's what makes him so special.
I agree, man. I agree. You can tell he wants it, and you can tell he cares about the city, man. What more can we ask for, right?
What more can we ask for? And we are excited tonight. So stay tuned after tonight's game for Nick and Tony to be bringing in the first half rewards. It's going to involve the MVP. I think you guys kind of know who we're choosing, but the sixth man of the year and the most improved player for the Chicago Bulls. So stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Dick Brody, joined alongside Nick Barr, and we'll see you guys next time.